strategize together. Let's hear it from an expert. Join the conversation, it's informative and free. You and me, let's talk some strategy. Now here's your host, Morin-van.
And hello, everybody. Welcome to episode 9 of Strategy Talks. I am very excited to be here on International Women's Day with a guest from the Netherlands. What a coincidence that is. That's amazing. So welcome to all of you who will be joining us live or are here live. If you are here live, let us know where you are joining us from. If you're watching this on the replay, please put hashtag replay in the comments. And if you're listening to this episode as a podcast, want to make sure that there's a special shout out to you. Thank you for coming to this podcast, downloading it and listening to it. Make sure to subscribe for future episodes. So a quick reminder, this show is sponsored by Social Insider, the intuitive dashboard for social media analytics, reporting, and competitors analysis for brands and agencies. Thank you so much for Social Insider for being the sponsor of Strategy Talks. And now it is time to welcome my friend and our guest today, Anneke van der Voort. Welcome, Anneke.
Yeah, thank you very much. Nice to seeing you again. It has been a while, but I was just wondering, the first time I think it has been already many years back, also through LinkedIn.
Yes, absolutely.
So it's good to see each other again. Yeah,
I know, it's wonderful. And I was just noticing in the green room how you are perfectly dressed for Strategy Talks with your orange and your green. And
exactly. Well, this must be like a mix for Doreen. Always orange, of course.
Yes, absolutely.
Nice.
Absolutely. So let me introduce you to our listeners on the podcast and also to those who are here watching the live show or the replay. So Anneke van der Voort, you are in the Netherlands. Your tagline is use LinkedIn in a smart and authentic way, and the business world is at your feet. Dutch LinkedIn expert Anneke van der Voort guides entrepreneurs towards a distinctive profile and more customers via LinkedIn. Her clientele mainly includes entrepreneurs in business services. Before starting her company, PR Minded, in 2013, Anneke worked in Singapore and London as a freelance PR and marketing professional and marketing teacher. She has coached, trained, and advised hundreds of entrepreneurs worldwide. So that's quite a resume, Anneke. I love it.
Quite a mouthful.
It sure is, but
But it also comes with age, yeah. Then you get a longer introduction.
Yes, no, for sure. So you've been in business since 2013 as a freelancer, and I have followed your journey. I think we connected in 2014, 2015, and I just love that you really have honed in on LinkedIn. Last week, my guest was Kate Payne, who is a business, she's a business consultant and LinkedIn expert who helps people craft their stories to go with their LinkedIn profile. And you and I are talking today about networking on LinkedIn. Now, one of the questions that I've asked my audience, and I'm sure you ask all the time, I've seen you ask that question, is what is your purpose of being on LinkedIn? So we're going to dive right into strategy, right? Because strategy always starts with a goal. What are some other goals besides networking, which is what we'll be talking about? What are some reasons people actually tell you that they are on LinkedIn for?
Well, let's say that the people I attract, of course, like to use LinkedIn to attract more clients, to create visibility. Because they feel like, okay, I've got my personal network, I've got my business network, and I want to expand because I want to get clients who are not part of my current network, but actually you go beyond that. And so that's networking is one step. And then, of course, the next step is, okay, how do I create visibility? And how do I then get in touch with those new people or maybe people from longer ago so that my client base is growing?
Right. So you work mainly with people in the service industry. That makes a lot of sense.
That's
right.
Yeah.
Right. And so how, the next question is, how do you begin a strategy for networking? Do you just connect with everybody. Let's, if somebody is watching this, whether you're on Twitter or on YouTube, you're watching us on Facebook or on LinkedIn, how do people start with the strategy? Is it pen to paper? Do you have a resource? How do you meet new people on LinkedIn?
Yeah. Well, there are two things. I mean, how do you start with strategy? And let's say, and part of it, of course, is, let's say, how do you link then with new people? But let's say, for me, LinkedIn, building a good LinkedIn presence always starts with your profile. And the reason is that when you start creating your profile, and not creating it, but let's say improving it, you have to think about two questions. What do I bring to the table? And what do I offer? And how does it benefit my customers? So you start thinking about yourself, like, what is it actually what I do? There's one question. And the other question is, okay, who are my customers then? So, and these are the two questions you need to answer before you are able to build your profile. And your profile is your foundation on LinkedIn. And then it is time to work on your strategy. Then it's time to say, okay, now I know what I bring to the table and I know who my client is. And then I can take the next step. Okay, I want to create visibility on LinkedIn. So, okay, what is my message? What is the message I want to bring across? And I focus a lot on personal branding, because a lot of things I do are with entrepreneurs who have, let's say, just themselves as being the company. Exactly.
Right,
Just
like
you
me and you.
Yeah, exactly. So you want to build a personal brand, and a strong personal brand on LinkedIn makes it easier to attract customers. So then the question is, what are you about? I mean, what is your message? What is it that you want people to remind that where you actually, what your core capability is? And so what's your message and how do you bring it across? Because in the pre-discussion, we talked just about the fact that there's so many options on LinkedIn nowadays. I mean, you can go live, you can, the audio events are coming, newsletters. So you have to make a choice what suits you, what kind of format suits you to actually, to put your content and your message in. And then the question is, how do you follow up? So before you work on the strategy, the messaging and the formats you want to use and the frequency, before you make decisions on that, I always first start with your profile, because that gives already clarity on what you want to bring across on LinkedIn.
So that makes a lot of sense. Your profile has to reflect who you are, has to attract the right people that you want to work with, and then you can network, right, on LinkedIn.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, and network is part of your strategy. Are you going to do that proactively? That's what I always advise my clients, because once you have your strategy, you have to execute it. Now with execution comes, okay, you get likes, you get reactions, you get people who visit your profile. Are you waiting till they connect you or contact you, or are you proactively like, hey, nice that you responded to my message. Do you have a specific question, or is it something I can help you with?
So Anneke, what I'm hearing you say is the inbound and the outbound strategies, right? So outbound is you putting out content where you're going to put your information out, where you're creating specific content with a newsletter, with a LinkedIn Live, to put yourself out there, right? And to attract people to come to you. And the outbound, and then the outbound would be to go to other people. Well, I got it mixed up. Inbound would be you creating content so people come to you, right? That's inbound marketing. The outbound marketing is for you to go out through cold DMs, or to go to other people's profiles, or to run an ad, and then you going to find the people that you want to connect with, right? And do connect.
And I see it more like because you create the content, because you start working on your visibility, that already makes that more people start visiting your profile. That's also second degree connection. So people you're not connected with also will start responding to your content, or they start liking it. And that is already then let's say then it's not so cold anymore, because if let's say second degree connection gives a like on a post, I can see, okay, what is this person doing? Oh, well, part of my target group, let's send them an invite to connect. I mean, then I'm not going immediately to do a sales pitch, but at least I make them already part of my network.
That's wonderful. And I know that you have a LinkedIn newsletter. One of the first people that I saw with a LinkedIn newsletter, one of the first newsletters I subscribed to on LinkedIn was yours. And I cannot tell you how many times I went back to LinkedIn. Do I have the option yet? Because I had written like 70 something articles. I'm like, I know where the button is. Why am I not getting it?
Yeah, that's
And that
frustrating, isn't it?
it
Yeah,
was
I'm now
very
still waiting. Yeah, for the audio events to get access to. I saw already a few people having access to that.
Yeah, I just went to my first audio event yesterday. Now, do you know anybody in the Netherlands who has audio
No, it
room?
also was someone from the United States. So I think it's only spread out or rolled out first most of the times in the US.
Yeah, that
So
yeah,
hopefully, yeah,
that's what I was thinking. So when I had seen you as a LinkedIn expert have that LinkedIn newsletter, I was like, okay, they're rolling it out. And then I saw creator mode. And then I was like, okay, if I turn on creator mode, I get LinkedIn
yeah,
Live and I get my newsletter. So I got both. So
yeah,
that
that's
was
right.
super, yeah, that was super exciting. Do you find that a lot of people don't know what all these options are? I mean, you and I work in social media. We work in marketing, right? So we are top, we are on top of new features. What do you say to somebody who, has a LinkedIn presence, but, might come upon this on, say, Twitter or YouTube, or is watching this on Facebook, and they're like, LinkedIn's not for me. How would you convince somebody, Annika, to
Well,
come to LinkedIn? What can you tell them? What's happening on LinkedIn?
mhm.
Because I'm seeing a lot of things happening on LinkedIn. What do you see?
Well, the thing is, first of all, I look at the business. Like, are they B2B? That makes LinkedIn easier, of course, because if you're B2C, then yeah, everybody could be your. You never know if someone is then your customer. But if I say, well, I focus on HR professionals, well, that's a B2B target group. I can easily find them. So I always say to people, there are few differences between LinkedIn and other platforms. First of all, it's yeah, let's say 95% business. Of course, there is some other content as well, as we all know. But let's say when you
Sure.
go into the LinkedIn app, whether it's on your desktop or phone, you expect a business setting. And that's already different from Instagram and Facebook. So the mindset people enter LinkedIn with is different than when you enter Facebook or Instagram. And then secondly, I mean, it's very easy to, let's say, to build up a network because you can actually, you're in control, so to say. You can find people by their name, by their the position, even the company they work, the location. So you have some criteria you can use. And yeah, and then you can make a connection. And also because it's a business platform, it's not like that you invade someone's private space. It is more like, hey, from my position as a LinkedIn expert, hey, I'm interested in connecting with you. Are you open to expanding your network? So because you do it from your business identity, and I think a lot of people don't exactly understand, or especially people who are not so active on LinkedIn, like, yeah, but it's a personal profile. Yeah, it's a personal business profile. And then when I show them, like, and you can even search for people, you can expand your network proactively. And then they start seeing the options. But for some people, yeah, it is of course that. Well, what I often hear is people say, yeah, but I'm a bit holding back because on Instagram I find it easy. I can just post stuff, things I come across, things happening to me on a daily basis. But LinkedIn is a bit more serious, and people are maybe a bit more specific and critical on your content. So actually, they feel a bit, yeah, how to say, holding
Intimidated,
back. Yeah,
intimidated.
exactly.
Yeah.
So, and then I said, well, it's also how you look at it, because I mean, there's also just people on LinkedIn, and not that everybody is, let's say, only you're not only talking to the biggest experts, it's just people like you and me. So sometimes you need to take away some barriers. And then when they start seeing the possibilities, I noticed that a lot of people who come from Facebook and Instagram start now to look into LinkedIn.
Yeah, I've noticed the same thing, and I love that you say that. It's just people on LinkedIn.
Yeah, that's
You
right.
know, we don't bite, or usually we don't, right? We're on LinkedIn. We want to connect. We're humans to humans. And I say this all the time. Even the biggest corporation, even if you're going to work with a big corporation, there's somebody in that big building, in that brand, in that company that has to sign your check. There's a human there that you want to connect with.
Yeah,
So the
that's right.
same thing is true on LinkedIn. Yes, you might be talking with brands, you can tag brands, but there is a person behind the brand. And a couple of weeks ago, there was some international brand day, and some of my friends were tagging brands, and the brands that were outstanding were the ones that came and joined the conversation. I remember Slack had an outage, and everybody was tagging Slack. That community manager earned his or her money that day. They were all
Wow. Yeah.
over LinkedIn. They were in every conversation as much as they could, saying, we'll be back up and we're going to be there. And that's Slack. right?
Yeah.
But there's a person behind
Yeah,
that.
that's
So,
right. Yeah. But
so
that's
I
also
thought that
the
was
reason
good.
that I stress, like also for companies with more employees, do not only use your company page, but especially use the personal profiles of your employees. And it's the same for entrepreneurs who work for themselves, because there is where the interaction takes place.
Absolutely. Is there anything that people should not do when they're networking on LinkedIn, Annika?
Well, in my perspective, I think you should not, like, if you just connect to someone and maybe it's your initiative, and then don't send them immediately like a sales pitch. I mean, it sounds obvious, but still, you get it nowadays, or you get it now and then. I want to say, yeah, that people are too eager to do business. Give me a second.
Yeah. Yeah. So that you mean like, so we're connecting. I say, hey, Annika, let's connect. We're both working in marketing. I say yes to that, and boom, there's a sale pitch
Yeah, and
in
say, hey,
my
Doreen,
messaging.
nice that you accepted my invitation, by the way. Shall we have a conversation? Because I think I can help you with LinkedIn. It's like, oh, okay. Is that your intention of the connection or what? I mean, and of course, you can think in numbers. You think like, hey, if I do that 10 times, and maybe two people think like, oh, okay, well, at this point of time, I actually was considering doing something with LinkedIn, but that's not actually the style I have. I mean, I prefer to make a connection. People can see my content, I can see their content, and then you probably come across each other. And maybe, I mean, a connection you make today can be a client in 3 weeks' time, but also in 3 years' time. And
Right.
that's
And
actually what I see happening.
that's so it's a marathon. It's not a sprint. I wanted to ask you about that bell feature. Do you use that on people's profiles? Are there specific people that you follow for a specific reason? And if you're listening to this on a podcast, imagine going to somebody's profile on LinkedIn. On the right side, right underneath the image, the header image, there's a little bell. It's outlined. If you click that, it becomes a solid bell. And what happens then is that every time that person posts something, LinkedIn will give you a notification. Annika van der Voort posted something on LinkedIn, and you can go interact with their content. Is that something that you actively use? Do you have a strategy for that, Annika?
Yeah, I use it especially with my customers. So yeah, that I don't miss their content. So
Ooh.
that's because, I mean, yeah, I think for me that's the main way to use it right now. I mean, you, of course, the more bells you click, the more updates you get. So
Right, you have to be selective.
exactly, yeah,
That's a great strategy. So you have a bunch of clients that you're teaching about LinkedIn. You want to interact with their content because that's what you teach. So you click all the bells of all your clients. I've clicked the bell of people that I want to interact with, that I might want to interview on my show,
yeah,
and
for
people
yeah,
that
yeah,
right, and people that put out some amazing LinkedIn and social media content. So I click their bell because I want to make sure that I interact with them.
yeah.
I've
Well,
also
that's also a good way to do that, of course. But I think it's especially important to realize like that you not click everyone's bell. Because otherwise it's going to be messy with all your updates, and yeah, so be selective, have a sort of strategy for that as well.
right. That's why I asked about that. And I also, now that I'm going to a big in-person conference next week, so I clicked the bell of the new people that I connected with in the app, right, for the conference.
Hmm.
So when they're talking about the conference next week, I get to see their content. So you can also unclick a bell. That could be part of your
Yeah,
strategy.
that's right, that's also good. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so I wanted to put that out. I have one more question for you. Do you have an example of somebody who that you follow or you emulate, besides yourself, that does a really good job of networking in a natural way? That if somebody wanted to say, or you don't even have to name a name, but something that you saw recently that like, oh, this person does a really good job.
Well, it's of course always what I just noted, that let's say if I look to my own client base, that the people who follow the steps like building your profile, having a strategy, and especially executing that consistently, that they get the results.
That's
And
awesome.
yeah,
So
and so I mean, and I think, I mean, there are also people, of course, okay, they build a profile, and some people are happy with it. They feel like, I just want to have a good presence on LinkedIn, but I don't want to do all the other stuff. That's fine. But those who said, I want to get clients from LinkedIn, and yeah, those who get the clients are the ones who actually do the steps and keep on doing that. And that's, yeah, that's what I see as a good example.
Right.
And of course, I also see it with people who are not my client, but I see them showing up all the time with a message which is, let's say, on topic.
On topic, right?
And that's what I often also see with people, like that they post about everything, like they are maybe in HR, but they also an entrepreneur, and then they start blogging about entrepreneurship and then about whatever. And then I think, like, well, stick to your topic, because there are many other people blogging about the other stuff. So stay on topic, because then
Stay in your lane.
know. Yeah, exactly. Stay in your lane. Yeah. And
Yeah.
then of course you can find things that happen to you on a daily basis and make bridges to that and include that in your story. But that's then more storytelling to bring your message across.
That makes
And
a
I think
lot
you
of
should not
sense.
mix those two. I mean, some people that think, oh, now I've written 3 blogs about HR. Let's write about entrepreneurship. And then I think, well, keep on writing about HR, but take a different angle.
Right. No, that makes a lot of sense. We are almost out of time, Monica. I have 3 rapid fire questions for you.
Okay.
I didn't tell you about these, did
Oh,
I?
exactly. Not
So
prepared.
I'm going to ask you, messy desk or clean desk?
Ooh, this part is clean because this is in the picture, and that one is messy.
I love it. Pep talk or motivational quote?
Pep talk.
Okay. Team building after work or team building on the weekend?
After work.
After work. Okay. I have one more that is actually a bonus one. Do you like to be the interviewer or the interviewee? And now I know this was I picked this one last minute because I know you're in front of the camera a lot. So do you like to do the interview or do you like to be interviewed?
Well, I like to be interviewed, but in the future I want to interview more. So I have gone live a couple of times. I think the last time was 4 months ago, I have to say. But I did a lot of, so I went live on my own. And now in the coming months, I like to invite more people like you do to go live with. So I have been interviewed several times, and now I want to focus a bit more also on interview people, because that's a nice way also to get in touch with different people, to hear other perspectives, etc.
Exactly. And to expand your audience, right? So I put your LinkedIn profile right there so people can connect with you. I know you've got some freebies. You have an incredible newsletter. So if you are an entrepreneur, if you provide services for people, Annika is definitely the expert to connect with. She mentioned that she has steps to follow and that her clients get results. So go check out her profile. I'm sure she can and go into her DMs, right? Connect with her and say, hey, Annika, I watched you on Doreen's show.
Yes, please do.
Yeah, and I want to get those steps and I want to get started with that. Annika, thank you so much for being here. For those of you who listen to this podcast, I am back every week at Tuesdays, 10 a.m. live. But thank you for listening to the podcast on the replay. If you are watching this on the replay, I want to remind you to put #replay in the comments so that Annika or I can answer your questions if you have them. Thank you so much, everybody, for being here. And Annika, a special thank you to you for being here on International Women's Day. It just happened to be that I had you here, which was, really fortuitous on this international day to have an international guest. And thank you so much thank you so much for coming. I know this is later in the day for you. And I appreciate you sticking around at the end of your day to be here live with us. Thank you again to everybody. And I will be back next week. And I'm going to do a quick plug. Next week, I'll be in California, social media marketing world. I'm going to be live on location, which is a first for me, through StreamYard, which I'm very excited about. And we're going to talk about live networking strategies at live events. So that should be a really cool show. And I'll see you then. And thank you so much, everybody.